Welcome to Space News! I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And the fourth spot today is reserved for our Lord and Savior. If he rises at some point today, maybe he can jump on, join the show. I don't know about you guys. I didn't hide the eggs well enough. Jesus got them all.
Jesus snuck in and got him.
Re-rising.
Yeah, didn't get any. A special early Easter. Everyone's got Easter dinners going on, so we thought we'd deliver some Easter space news a little early this Sunday. I'll replay this at 6:30 for anyone that was gonna catch it later as you're chomping down some turkey stuff.
Is it turkey at Easter?
It's ham. I think it's ham.
Oh,
ham?
Buddy, honestly, I'm not a ham guy. Which
Me
is
either.
surprising, but I hate like a honey glazed ham when you just got that big ham hock on there. Not for me.
Not for me. No, I never a big ham guy. Hey, Brady, you turn on your virtual camera so we see you.
Oh, yeah, there.
Hey, there he is.
Now the other thing is the only thing I wished the scalp potatoes.
Well,
Like scalloped
delicious.
potatoes,
Yeah, delicious.
Delicious.
But those don't go with turkey, and I agree. Those probably go with the ham better.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. But that's the one thing I don't like the ham. But I would kill for those scalloped potatoes because I could do without mashed potatoes. Just saying, like with turkey dinner.
That's what
You could. There's a lot of different versions of potatoes that I'm fine with. You got baked potatoes, scalloped potatoes, mashed potatoes, whipped potatoes,
Tons
double
of
baked
taters.
potatoes,
Yeah.
tater tots.
It's so funny because every time we have a turkey dinner now, after turkey dinner, for some reason, I've got wicked acid reflux, and every time we have it, I'm gonna narrow it down to what in this turkey
What
dinner.
is it?
And so now I've got it narrowed down to the turkey, the sweet peach corn, stuffing, the gravy, the pierogies.
Yeah, it's narrow.
The
it's real
onion.
narrow.
What else do we have? Or the cheesecake right after.
Could be
And
any
the
one
4
of
beers.
those.
I'm not sure. I'm down to I'm under 10 now.
down
Like
to.
one of these things is giving me acid reflux after. There's no way it could be a combination of everything consumed within an hour at copious amounts, right?
No way.
But of course, while we're here today, we got some space news.
Space news.
I didn't realize they actually had a designation of like strange star.
Yeah.
Isn't
That it's
that-
actually a thing.
That surprised me. It's like there's whenever I read articles of like scientists find strange star, I was just like, oh yeah, cool. Like I wonder what's strange about it. I didn't realize that that's like a designation for stars where they're like, we don't really know how this one works. Throw it in the strange star category. Like legit classification of star is strange star.
Specifically the one that they're kind of referring to this week is we're talking about the totally memorable name of XMMU J173203.3-344518. Everybody's favorite strange star.
Love how they names those strange stars.
Apparently
they need to get the IKEA guy to name these. Right? It's just
It'd be like
Something catchy.
strange stellar sporg or something like
Yeah.
it. This is a pretty tiny star. Apparently, its mass is only about 3/4 of our sun. And it's squeezed all into about an area they said that's about equivalent of Manhattan Island. So it's like imagine like 3/4 of our sun smashed into a tiny little
standing
tiny
room only. Those atomic particles.
Now we've known about this star for quite a while, and we've made some new discoveries about it. Apparently, there is a new study by some astrophysicists from the University of Sao Paulo and the Federal University of ABC in Brazil, which confirms some very strange star stuff might be going on with this thing. So. Last year, some scientists in Germany had put together like a reassessment of the distance of how far that this tiny little star blob was kind of where it was located from us. Originally, they thought it was about 10,000 light years away, but
Just a
then
mere 10,000.
mere
Yeah.
10,000. But I guess when they went back to look at it, they calculated now that it's about they shaved off about 2,000 light years, and it's about 8,150 light years away. And
Yeah.
with this
Did they
new
make
distance,
a mistake, or is it getting closer? I've seen Fifth Element.
um,
It approaches.
and with this correction, or this recalculation of the data, they had to look at the qualities of this star and then reassess them, according to that data. So when they did that, and there's some stuff that makes the star certainly weird. Now, as most people know, stars at a certain mass, when they run out of stuff to burn, essentially, or that doesn't burn,
It's your main sequence stars, like the ones like our sun are similar. They run out of shit. They run out of shit to burn, and they start collapsing.
Right. And so when they go ahead and, collapse in on themselves, that's where we get our cool supernovas and whatnot. And then there's stuff. Now, it doesn't just like go away. Now, you have some that if it's dense enough, right, you can have a neutron star. If you have everything collapse down into a small little tiny little thing, it's a neutron star. Not quite a black hole, but it's that. This little all the matter that was in the center of the stars kind of squeezed together, and then if it's enough mass that's left over, all of that can become a black hole. So it's like if it gets over a certain size, then it will become a black hole. There's actually levels and kind of like fine little limits that scientists have discovered by the observations of the millions and hundreds of thousands of stars that we've gotten to look at over the years. Now, the lower mass limit that they have for a neutron star is thought to be just about over 1 solar mass, equivalent to our stars, about 1.17 times the mass of our sun. Now, XMMU J1732033.3-344518 is according to the new calculations, is probably about 77% of our solar mass, which is really confusing because it's not a neutron star. It doesn't seem to be.
So it's at that mass and that size, it should be a neutron star, if not a black hole.
Right.
At this point.
Exactly. And now they're
But it's
speculating that this is what they have hypothetically called a strange star. It's like a hypothetical object that they thought of.
What should we call it, boys? Strange.
Well, see, this is what frustrates me, is because I'm like, they'll give these stars the dumbest names ever, and then they're like, okay, well, what category of star? They're like, how about we just call it strange? Like their naming is all over the place. We've said it before. We need some sort of government agency to kind of like get in, like a naming agency. We should start some sort of like astronomical naming agency, and like everyone has to come through us before they pitch these fucking stupid names.
Well,
Should've
no,
been
that's
just like Bizarro Star or something.
Well, that's how you get
Cool.
stars
Star
named
Bizarro.
Sunny McSunface.
Star Bizarro. Boom.
Bistaro.
Miss Star.
See, that's how easy it is. That's how easy it is.
Right? 3 guys came up with a better name.
But these strange stars hypothetically are supposed to consist of mainly quarks, like the principal.
Just all crushed down to the building blocks of atoms.
Yeah, the basis building blocks of the inside of atoms, right? Now with this one, they're thinking that if you I thought it was really funny because they have the quark things, and they basically, if you have enough energy in one spot, you can have these quarks that kind of overcome the forces that bind them together and arrange them into things like protons and neutrons and whatever, and then they just become kind of chaotic and whatever, and then they form an actual new state or new form of matter, which scientists call quark matter.
Quark matter,
which I thought was pretty great. I was like, damn it. I don't know whether it's, it's like, do they just call it a pun or they just call it, it's just really good.
Yeah, I typed in a couple of these things in. I was like, obviously I'm a dum-dum, and I'm sure there's other dum-dums like me that listen to the show. So I had to type in like, because for some reason, again, because I'm an idiot. When you say quark, I don't know why. There's no. It's close to quack. So like when in spelling, when you say that, the first thing that pops into my monkey brain is just a duck. I just go, oh, ducks.
Yeah.
Like that's how my brain works. So I had to look it up. So it's like quarks are.
What is a duck?
I had to be like, yeah. I had to get our old buddy ChatGPT to explain it to me. Like and some people do like grade 5. I see like a 3-year-old, and that's where I understand it. So quarks are like the little building blocks that make up protons and neutrons, which are the tiny things that make up atoms. They are really, really, really tiny.
It's great.
You can't see them even with a microscope. Quarks come in different flavors like up, down, strange, charm, top, and bottom. And if you think of them like different colored Lego blocks, just like you can put together different Lego blocks together to make something new, scientists can put quarks together in different ways to make different kinds of particles, like the quark particle you were talking about. Boom! I understand quarks now. It's not ducks.
It's not ducks. You heard it here.
XMMU J173203.3 ... is not a duck.
Confirmed, not a duck.
Confirmed, not a duck. But yeah, this is pretty groundbreaking because it's just the fact that like they said, it's like this might be a different kind of star than they're really used to ever seeing. They haven't ruled out that perhaps like this has some other mundane explanation, the way that they're reading it and the way the data is presenting itself. But it's exciting for them to see something like this, which they really haven't seen before.
What else will they find next?
The universe is weird, man. It's wild.
It's crazy. Full of ducks, man.
Dark matter, quark matter, quack matter. Quack matter's next.
Yeah.
Duck matter.
We're getting dangerously close to DuckTales here. It's
Yeah,
also a long
I'm getting triggered.
It all comes back to DuckTales.
You know what? Speaking of ducks, Nova has discovered Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Oh yeah.
And the character Donald Duck fucking drives me insane. I can't stand that voice. How is that a voice on a show? How is no one else so mad about this voice? You can't understand a word this fucking thing says.
Yeah. I hope she starts impersonating Donald Duck.
Starts quacking, talking like that.
Before we get to the next space news, shout out Mark Dixon, Bandito Frito. We see you there, and Scott Sullivan. Thanks for joining the live stream, commenting in the chat. Yes, happy Bunny Hiding Eggs Day to you too. Mark Dixon saying, "Hey boys, how are you? Much love from the UK." We're doing
much love to the UK,
Canada. Yeah, much love out to the UK. If you're even real, we've moved on from fake Australia to fake the rest of the world. To be honest,
the only things left is Canada, I believe.
Right? Yeah, it's like outside the continental where I've been, I don't know if it exists. So.
I haven't seen it with my own eyes, so I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got here? We got more signals from space. Repeating signal trace to rocky Earth-sized world could reveal the key to habitability. That's a hard word. That's a hard word to say.
Habitability?
Yeah.
It is.
Like when you read that, when you look at that word and then go to read it, like I had a pause. I thought I was going to have a photography moment. I was like...
Nailed it.
It's like when you want
started to stutter a bit.
Well, it's one of those words you can't if you sound it out, then you're going to say habitability, which sounds stupid. You know what I mean? Because you got to let it roll. You got to really just let it flow. Habitability.
Yeah.
Like you got to let your mouth just. The second it comes off your tongue, you're just going with it.
Just don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just say it. There you go.
All right, it's crazy.
It's a lot of syllables in one word.
It is. It's a good word. So that's.
So in their big catalog of discovered planets or extrasolar planets, scientists have a planet known as YZ Ceti B.
Much better name. Much better name.
Much better. Could have been YYZ, which would have been way
cooler.
That would have been neat, but it's just YZ, so half as cool maybe. Which is a planet that is orbiting a red dwarf star about 12 light years from Earth. It's about comparable Earth-sized planet, but now a lot of people think that when scientists are looking for a habitable planet or a planet that would be for us, you're looking for people would be like, oh, what do you think makes a habitable planet? You'd be like, oh, atmosphere, water, like those two things maybe, you know. But actually there's a third thing. There's a third quality that scientists look for, and that's ducks. Yes. Quack matter.
Quack, quack, quack.
But it's the magnetic field that our planet has, which is, you know, vital in basically keeping our atmosphere from being stripped away by the stellar winds of our, you know, our home star.
It's the only reason we got life.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think. Like when I was reading this and into this article, I was like, that is a good point, because I'm like, if they have that, I'm like, you know, it makes terraforming it become a possibility, all this other stuff. But I'm like, if it's just a floating rocky world, like, fucking good luck. You're done. Right? You're gonna have
I mean, you can look at the just next door, Mars, right? Yeah. Mars scientists, you know, are now, you know, farther along and thinking that, you know, Mars at one point had an atmosphere, you know,
it was Earth.
Something
Earth-like.
Similar to Earth, like, and at one point it lost its magnetic field. And then that may have been, you know, a contributing factor to when it just, you know, eventually the atmosphere that it did have was just eroded away. By
and have you not
winds.
heard about the ancient nuclear war that was on Mars? That's what stripped the atmosphere away.
Yeah.
Or
and all that's left is the tunneled reptilians, right? Those cockroach things.
No, they had to escape Mars.
Terraform Mars.
They had to escape Mars because they stripped the atmosphere in their planetary battle for domination.
Right. That's where
and
Obama
then they had to jump to Earth.
That's where Obama served.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
according to what the code.
And then he was transported forward in time to be implanted as president of the United States in order to prepare the world for the incoming invasion from the past.
I thought he was a child soldier, because we send over all the missing children to Mars because they're small enough to fit into the insectoid tunnels.
No, that's the Montauk Project. We had we had to send them. They can only fit through the portal, right?
Yeah.
The portal's child size.
Oh yeah.
That's them and homeless people that you pick up off the street.
Yeah,
and chuck
that's
them
right.
through the portal. Homeless winos that you can chuck through the portal.
Right, and that's why the government is just shoveling out all these opioids, is because we're losing the war, so they need to make more homeless people.
to fight our soldiers.
Yeah, to fight our wars on Mars.
Yeah, right. They can't tell anyone about. The draft isn't working, right? But you listen. Someone will sign up for another hit. Right? This is all the government's doing. This is all government, big pharma, propagating our military industrial complex.
Now, why SETI B not only is like a candidate for being an actual habitable planet, it's actually given us a better way, or at least scientists, when they've looked at it, it's given them a better way to identify magnetic fields on these smaller rocky worlds that are outside of our solar system. And before this, they never really had a reliable way or technique to kind of figure out if a planet has a stable magnetic field and things like this. So what they found with SETI B is that a repeating radio signal might be the clue that can indicate for scientists that a planet might have a robust magnetic field. Now, the scientists believe that because SETI B's orbit is actually around its red dwarf star is 2 days. Its entire orbit is 2 days.
Is this fucking humming around that star?
It is hauling around that star.
Everyone on that planet's like stuck on the gravitron, just fucking back.
To compare to our solar system, I think Mercury has the shortest one. It's 88 days. Like, and this thing's
not
just
even
cruising
close.
around. Yeah, this thing's cruising around at like 2 days. So they're saying that as this planet plows through the kind of the solar radiation that surrounds its star that's being thrown out by the star, it's kind of just like picking up that stuff, and then so it's forming its own little with the interactions that it's having with these solar radiation is creating its little magnetic field. And so they were able to kind of match up the radio signals that were coming from that star with the orbit time that they had calculated for SETI B. So they're saying that this is what we can use now to show us that if they have there's a likely chance that these planets have a magnetic field, which is something that would potentially be, give it a greater chance of having, being habitable for, at least a greater chance of being habitable for humans, and then beyond that, perhaps even having life on there or being a candidate for having life on that planet.
Not even necessarily that there could be life on it, but just that now that they've have a way of identifying magnetic fields on other planets, now you could maybe look for one that's more Earth-sized and more in the Goldilocks zone that probably that you could actually deduce like that could be suitable for life. But I don't know about this planet being so close to the sun, going that fast. How fast is it spinning?
No, they said for this one would probably not.
That's the chosen one of SETI B.
I think they said for SETI B, they're like SETI B would probably not be habitable for humans because it's so close to its star. Like it's really close to its star. Like we probably wouldn't be able to live there. But yeah, it's
living in caves.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just getting better at, because it's like
at finding them,
at like bringing that scope in to where there's going to be habitable life, right? It's like, okay, we found all these Goldilocks zones. We can before we weren't good at that, and then it's like now we can find these planets that we think have.
Right.
Have the possibility for life. Now we can narrow it down to the planets that are in these Goldilocks zones, that are orbiting these stars at a certain distance, that also have a robust magnetic field. Like we're just scoping that. It's like I said, it's just a matter of time before we're gonna have an article in Space News that go, like, based on all of our evidence and all these tests we're running, this planet here in this,
right. Once you have all those parameters and you can feed them into you can feed them into a computer and or AI or something.
Into the AI controlling the satellites.
And it will take that data and it will narrow down that list.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll be able to find out what gave Braden acid reflux from turkey dinner.
Which one? Yeah. So we're running the same tests, basically. This next article is great. Is it a surprise? No, because Zell's told us this as much. But we now have evidence that, us humans were doing hallucinogenic drugs as long as 3,600 years ago.
Intentionally using them.
Yeah. Well, listen, I guarantee you, it's longer than that.
I guarantee you that is the reason. If it's not for alien intervention, it is the primates. If we're coming from primates, them discovering hallucinogens by accident is what triggered the creative mind. And over 1 million years of eating mushrooms, their brains grew. That's how we became evolved. It's all about drugs. It goes way back.
The article that Braden mentioned was talking about a new analysis of some hair that they recovered from a almost 4,000-year-old burial site in the Mediterranean southwest of Spain, on a tiny little island called Menorca. And so what they found is that in this burial site, there was a number of like containers that had hair, like they had hair from some of these people who were buried there. And some of this hair, they were able to kind of, miraculously being preserved the way it was. They were able to do some analysis on that and showing that there were remains of they could detect like traces of psychoactive hallucinogenic plants and stuff inside their hair. Now, like Zell's saying, we've had kind of evidence that there have been psychoactive plants and tools for their preparation and probably consumption and depiction in art and all of this stuff that culture forever. But this
part of human culture.
But this is the first time that they found like actual traces of the compounds themselves in human bodily tissue samples.
That's crazy. You could find them that far after.
Awesome. So it was some researchers from the University of Valladolid and the Autonomous University of Barcelona in Spain and the University de Chile were fortunate enough to recover these samples and then put them together and detect traces of plants like they said nightshade, or in the nightshade family. They said mandrake, henbane, thorn apple, joint pine. They said were probably the likely sources for these drugs that they were detecting in the hair samples. Now, if you have, they said just consider. Here's a quote: considering the potential toxicity of the alkaloids found in the hair, their handling, use, and applications represented highly specialized knowledge. So the researchers are pretty much saying that these must have been prepared by someone who knew what they were doing. So their theory is that it was these
Purposeful.
that these were prepared by shamans or I guess whatever, like hedge witches or whatever they call them. People who knew what they were doing.
Naturopaths.
Yeah.
Man, like all of the ancient cultures were doing it. Like we know that the Greeks were doing it with the ergot root and those, was it the Euclidean mysteries? They would take the 10-day journey and they'd sip this fucking drink, and it's pretty much doing LSD. Is what they're doing.
Yeah, or sit on methane. What was it, like methane fountains or whatever in some areas? Just like hallucinogenic gases and stuff getting ripped. I can see the future.
Well, no, it's like, and I always kind of wondered of like all these great minds and stuff throughout history that we see. I wonder like how many of them had done these hallucinogenics, because sometimes when you're on them, you see stuff and you're just like, you get. And it's hard to explain to people who have never done any, but it's like there's times when you're on them at a specific time where you're like, you unlock knowledge and you're like, I can't forget this, and you immediately forget it.
And you it's
like
gone.
the second you unlock the knowledge, it's instantly fleeting. And you're like, wait, what did I just said I can't forget that. And then
I've just witnessed the fabric of reality.
Yeah.
I'm witnessing it right now. I cannot forget how this looks.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, like, what was that like?
Well, you're like, I remember I had some sort of epiphany, but I don't remember about what.
Yeah.
Like
I almost cracked it.
Yeah.
Cracked the mystery of life.
So it's like, I wonder how many like great minds have like seen that stuff and like, and have just started to,
and then you write them down. And then you write them down. You put them in text, and it becomes religion. You see these things.
Yeah, and that's actually a little interesting part about the discovery as well, is that they said that these people that were buried there and had their hair put in these containers, the hair had been dyed red as part of what they assume is some type of ritual, and then they had been put inside not the people, but the hair had been put inside like these special containers that they're saying, which were made of wood and antler. And they said that they all featured these kind of designs, similar designs of like concentric circles that, they're not sure what they represent because, we weren't there. So we don't know what they're drawing, but they're saying that, maybe they represent eyes, or they hint at what these people saw, like when they engaged with these hallucinogens, and this could possibly represent what their altered minds were seeing while they were participating in these rituals. Pretty rad.
Cool. Yeah, super cool.
They don't know why the people were put there. I think they mentioned that a theory is that perhaps these people and these containers were buried here as a way to kind of due to the fact that there was a large cultural shift going on at that time, about 3,600 years ago. So this is something perhaps that was just kind of like a sect or something like that would have been harried or something, like trying to preserve their knowledge or their way of life. Essentially on this weird, it is, if you look up Menorca, it's like this weird little island just like sitting off the coast of like pretty far up the coast, like of Spain. So it's like I don't know what else you do on a Spanish island 3,600 years ago. So yeah, that's if you're fucking drugs. I guess.
You know what's crazy about like a culture shift? I think right now we're going through a culture shift when it comes to how we view hallucinogens.
Oh,
and I bet you in the next 5 or 10 years, it's going to be the number one therapy for depression, anxiety, and all of that. There's all these RRSIs and all these other drugs are going to be replaced with like low dose psilocybin or something else, because now for the first time, like in the last few generations, they're actually researching the effects of hallucinogens on people with all these disorders. And like I don't know anything about it really, but from what I hear, it seems pretty profound in the results. Low dose. I'm not talking about giving someone a heroic 5 grams of mushrooms and sending them off into the woods
on a space quest.
I mean that's a different journey that you should take at your own risk. But
yeah, you give them that high dose, you sit them in front of an episode of DuckTales, and then they know the secrets of the universe. Like we've covered.
That's the combo.
Quack matter. It's all quack matter.
I can't forget this.
Got it. Write it down. My hands are made of jelly. What do I do?
So every week on Space News, outside of I always try to keep one ridiculous article, and this is one that Dan's been talking to us about forever.
Really?
Yeah. Dan's
It's
always
funny.
talking. He
I
goes,
remember
math,
that.
math makes me come all the time.
Yeah.
He just
That
said, he's like,
sounds
oh
like
God,
something
I
I
love
say
math.
all the time.
And now science has proven that, the nerds were right.
There's the mathematical formula.
Yeah, to achieve the male orgasm. It's 1 + 1.
Yeah, 1 + 1
A
equals
plus B equals C. UM.
yeah.
So, basically, I kind of thought that was fun. As soon as I saw that headline, I was like,
yeah, they had a team of scientists, I guess from there's a team of researchers from the University of Sussex in the I guess it's Sussex. That's pretty funny. In the UK, and they combed through decades of data on physiological and psychological arousal. So it's like, people have been studying this stuff for decades. It's, good studies since like the 60s, I suppose. And after combing through tons and tons of data, then there was another study that they had. The interesting study was one from, I think it was from Sweden or Norway. I can't remember, but it was basically from 2006, and it was mentioned that this is the one. I've seen those pictures, floating around. But basically, they had. It's a really interesting concept. Is like they would measure. They basically had people engage in certain, sexual acts within an MRI machine, and then they watched like the way that the nervous system and stuff reacted.
Guys are just doing math on they got their Casios out. Dude, I could have told this.
Write that down. Write that down.
Once was a man with 69 boobs. That's too many. He went down 51st Street to talk to Dr. X, who ate them all, and left her boobless. Then you flip the calculator. I already know these equations. I was taught them in elementary school.
But we're going through all that data. It's just really funny because they said that probably the most important thing that they took away from this entire study was basically too much psychological arousal early on can make it harder to reach orgasm. Basically, don't overthink it.
Don't think too hard.
Don't think.
Empty your mind.
Yeah. Easy.
So there is like
math. If you do some math in your head while you're in the deed, it helps you last longer.
I thought the name of the publication that it was put down released in is pretty great. It's published in Chaos, an Interdisciplinary Journal of Nonlinear Science. Is where they put that
fucking equation.
Yeah. So there's actual math. Like they put together a whole bunch of stuff that they essentially said, like these mathematical equations. They said like inserting certain factors and whatever, the factors that they identified as, having large effects or having to do with, sexual arousal, for males. This is specifically they kind of made that qualification that this is, the specification that these are for males. Like this is specific, and they're planning on moving on to females next. So maybe we'll get that information and we'll finally know.
Everything's a mathematical formula. If you can unlock it, you have the secrets to the universe.
Yeah. When you're I don't know. I just imagine it. It's just like, anybody ever watched that series like Action Man?
Yeah,
and it was
they got a team of scientists on the female one. I think it's front led by Dr. Johnny Sins.
Yeah. Put him in the lab coat. Guy's multi-talented, man.
Can do anything.
Hold on, I'm going in. Takes off his lab coat.
All right.
That is a neat study. There's a lot of math, and I guess math is cool. Still,
math is
it's not just for space exploration. Yeah, not just for space exploration.
Yeah. Why don't we fire up the randomatron?
No, it was one more piece of space news that's very important, actually, that we got to read. Because it was just unveiled just this last week.
Mm-hmm.
The Artemis crew has been announced, including maybe the greatest astronaut ever to live, a Canadian, actually, will be sent around the moon. But someone's got to help me with the first name because I don't want to get out of line here. Christina Koch.
Koch?
Koch.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say what you think. What you thought first when you read it.
Is it Koch?
Yeah.
Cook.
Koch.
Sometimes.
Koch. Cook.
Sometimes it's Cook.
Koch.
Because we knew a cook.
We knew a cook.
We knew a cook
Yeah.
that was spelled that way.
It's not what came to your mind when you read it.
No.
That's all I know.
Math.
So she holds the longest single spaceflight by a woman, and she'll be the mission specialist on the Artemis 2, which is flying around the moon first. It's not going to land on the moon right away. Then we got to move over to Victor Glover, pretty sure brother of Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So he's up there in case they run into any predators.
Yeah. He'll be the pilot of the Orion spacecraft. He'll also be the first black man to take part in a lunar mission.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 60s. It might have been a little racist back then, it sounds like.
Racism in the 60s? What?
No. Rounding out the crew, we got Reed Wiseman, 47 years old, and then the greatest astronaut of all time, Jeremy Hansen, former fighter pilot, and now with the Canadian Space Agency, the first Canadian to go anywhere near outside of Earth orbit. We haven't gone anywhere close to the moon. So that's pretty awesome, man. That's going to be the first a flight around. I'm sure it's going to get delayed 8 more times before they actually finally do it.
It's so wild to me that this is the first time in 50 years
that we're shooting people to the moon.
Yeah. It's just.
Well, I mean, China's been to the moon, but a drone, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have their lunar lander out there. It's the first time a manned mission has been to the moon.
Marco Leal says first Canadian to leave Canada.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
It's true. No, we had was it Chris? Why do I want to say Chris? Is it Chris Hansen?
You're talking. Oh, he's no, he was on the space station.
Hatfield. Chris Hatfield.
Hatfield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris
but that's
Hansen's
one. That's low. That's low orbit.
Yeah. Along with Danny Glover.
Yeah,
Danny Glover. Yeah.
We've had other. There's been a couple Canadians to leave.
But they haven't gotten past low Earth. That's what I mean. No one's like they go to the space station, they come back. That's it.
Yeah.
So November 2024, they're aiming for. Prepare for some pushbacks. I mean, we're supposed to be there now.
Yeah. I think they're also pushing for, and this is the stepping stone towards Mars. And I think one of the NASA engineers on this when they made the announcement was talking about, or when they made the press release was talking about perhaps like optimistically it's like 2040.
Yeah, optimistically. Yeah. SpaceX is going to beat them.
If all this goes good, if all this goes well, we'll be on Mars fighting humanoid cockroach reptilians again.
Fuck, every single time, full bottle Cueva. I tell you, these targeted ads are wild on these space.
I don't know what you got your cookies set at here.
What's your browsing?
I'm telling you, Dan talked.
You got some weird shit.
Dan talked about a waifu once, and now that's all that pops up on my screen. It's not me. I keep getting absolutely fucking roasted by these targeted ads. Everyone was making fun of me saying I had foot fungus because it was like a full page of foot fungus ads. I was like, I don't have foot fungus. My feet are fine.
Your feet are fine now.
Yeah. So,
yeah, because you got that targeted ad.
You got foot fungus cream, and you're good to
I
go.
should try that out. All right, let's fire up the Randomtron, see what it spits out here for us.
All right, I've been trying to track down the Randomtron in the quantum ether. It's gone. So I've been constructing in secret a new version of the Randomtron. The Z series, not the Z series, the Z series.
Yeah.
It turns
Better
out there's only
than dead.
It turns out there's only really one way to build them, so you're not going to notice much of a difference, I don't think. But let's fire up what I'm calling. I'm just going to call it the Z1. Keep it real simple. Even the Z1 has targeted ads on it, though.
Oh, okay. It's unavoidable at this point.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah. Quantum targeted ads.
It's trying to get me to go to Safeway. I'm too cheap to pay for the sampler. All right, let's fire it up.
There we go.
Getting that printout?
Yeah.
There it is.
Tell you,
It's
UFO
magical.
case file of the week.
Oh shit!
It's printed out the whole UFO case file book. I have so many copies of these goddamn books because it prints them out every couple
it prints
weeks.
out the whole thing.
It just prints out the whole book.
No, it prints out the whole thing, but
Oh,
it's
with
only,
highlights.
they're all blank pages.
Yeah,
except
it's
for one.
so annoying. I'm like, just print out the whole book. Send it to me once.
It's so inefficient.
Yeah, it's terrible. This account is from Rosemary Hawkins.
Is that a person or a place?
I don't know. Time will tell, Dan. All right, time will tell. Rosemary Hawkins was one of 3 women who experienced a UFO event in July 1981 in Shrewsbury, Shropshire.
Shropshire.
The other witnesses were Viv Hayward and Valerie Waters. They were returning from an evening out, driving towards Telford, Newtown, in the early hours of the morning. During the drive, they saw a peculiar red and white lights across fields near them, and they could apparently identify a structured object to which the lights were attached. The lights were apparently pacing a car. Now we've seen that before. There's been tons of other. What's the one with the kid and the grandmas?
Oh, the
That one.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, that one.
Right? They went to the diner and then they
Right.
got paced by the UFO.
They got
Like,
bad seafood, bad
seafood,
clam chowder.
bad gas station clam chowder, and then they got paced by UFO. But tons of the. This is not uncommon. There seemed to have been some interference with the car. Oh, yeah, the lights were apparently pacing their car. That's what I was meant to say. There seems to have been some interference with their car as it lost power, and when they tried to speed up to put the object behind them, they also noticed that there was no other traffic on the road. However, the lights dimmed, vanished, and the car apparently regained its power. The woman drove immediately to a local police station. They commented that the drive seemed to take an awfully long time. You know what? Good on them. I'm going to say that right now. If you are driving down the highway and you get paced by a UFO and you lose your lights, you lose stuff, don't go home. Don't do anything. Go to the authorities right away. Report it. I think that's probably the most credible thing to do. Like, if you go home and sit on that information, like, get authorities out there, because what we know is that sometimes in these cases, when authorities have gone out to just do a drive-by, they've seen some shit too, right? So you want that corroborated evidence.
ASAP. Yeah, ASAP. Get it to them.
No, you want to get out of your car, flag them down, wave them down, put out hitchhike, whatever you got to do to get aboard the ship.
Yeah.
Hopefully, get off the ship. What? What the fuck?
All right, this week's Patreon supporters.
Patreon. Drop the soundboard as Zeltron comes on.
From the apparent time of the event to the time taken to reach the police station, there would appear to be a period of missing time of approximately 20 minutes or more. Hypnotic regression sessions were undertaken by Dr. Joseph Jaffe and Leslie Davis, a homeopathic doctor. Under hypnosis, Viv Hayward recalls the car being taken up into the air and seeing a white cloud around her. Her companions were apparently not with her as the car was drawn into the underside of a UFO. She was apparently removed from the car and subjected to some medical examination on board the UFO by creatures approximately 4 feet tall wearing green cloaks. Whew. That's terrifying. After a grueling physical examination, Miss Hayward was then returned to the car, and the car returned to the ground.
Oh, she was just a candidate for the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah. There is some corroboration from Rosemary Hawkins of this account, as she recalls being taken from the car and also recalls that her companions were not with her. Apparently, she was examined by robots on wheels, but was not subjected to the same grueling physical examination as her companion. Valerie Waters was examined by Dr. Albert Keller, who found a different, uncooperative story in her recollection. During her recall, the car was apparently stationary and Miss Hawkins was missing. Miss Walters left the car, leaving Miss Hayward alone. She has no recollection of the UFO, but does feel that she was floated into a room and encountered entities wearing green cloaks. But these are
Dope.
of quite different proportions of entities that Miss Hayward encountered. They were tall, with dark shoulder-length hair, blue eyes, and white skin. Miss Walters apparently believes that something gynecological,
Gynecological, yeah.
Gynecological.
In nature occurred, but has no recollection of what. A claim which would ring true in later years with the predominant modern theory of human-alien hybrid breeding. Although sensibly cautious about the objective reality of the recall of these women, all the doctors involved appeared to have been impressed by their sincerity, with Leslie Davis stating the women were telling them the truth as they saw it. Now, it kind of puts an interesting thought in my mind is Zell, you've said it, that we experience like our reality in this wavelength, right? And maybe the different, just slight variation of accounts is because that's how we perceive these things coming through. Like everyone's perception's a little different, so they're seeing kind of similar things, but a little bit different proportionally, right? Like just by just person to person.
Robots with wheels sounds interesting.
Right, like, you know what I mean? Like,
maybe they got
sees
split up.
these extra
Maybe it was 3 UFOs, and they all had to like rock paper scissors for who they were picking up. Robots were like, "We got that one. We got this one."
Split them. Well, I was just
like, we
thinking,
got
I'm
her
like,
first
maybe
dibs.
it's one of those things where it's like, maybe these things, wherever they're from, when we're experiencing them, everyone sees them a little differently. So like maybe if
It's like
the
Contact.
yeah, exactly. So if maybe the three of us, like I'd see, like Dan would
Seth
see a
Shostak's
gross
favorite.
little,
Seth Shostak's favorite movie, Contact.
We'll have to ask him what his favorite movie is. Dan would probably see like a reptilian. Zell would see, like a tall gray, and I'd see like one of them blonde Nordics.
You get the sexy Nordic. You get the sexy Nordic, don't you?
Boris saw, right? I'd see one of those for sure.
Well, I mean that's more of like a hologram situation rather than like if they do exist in a different frequency and they're visible in that frequency, we would have to alter our sense to be able to see them. Drugs or instruments.
Yeah, okay.
Like what if you take like a little psychedelics, open up a couple different pathways in the brain, and you can see that extra little frequency. But then I've heard this debunked also because scientifically you only have so many rods and cones in your eyes, and that's what you see. So that doesn't really change.
Yeah,
The visible light going into your eye is not changing. You need to put on some type of maybe some like goggles that can alter that frequency into visible light so you could see whatever that was.
Ghost goggles.
Yeah, exactly, like a ghost goggle, like seeing into a different dimension or different
13 ghosts.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Right? Didn't they have that was 13 ghosts, right? Did they put on the ghost goggles?
Is that the one where all the ghosts?
That was
in
the
the
Tony
basement?
Shalhoub. That was the one with Tony Shalhoub, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they have the ghost goggles in that one?
Well, to be honest, I remember the ghost goggles more from the parody of Scary Movie 2.
Okay, but they were parodying.
They were parodying
13
that
ghosts.
movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's always interesting when you read these accounts and stuff. But like, if this was going to happen to you, definitely report it right away. Like honestly, nowadays you're not going to get the ridicule. You probably will get some ridicule. Not gonna lie, but it's going to be more accepted when when the story comes out wider.
You get ridiculed for everything nowadays.
So
it doesn't
who gives a
matter.
shit?
Doesn't matter what you say.
We want to know because we want to, we want to share this story and hopefully it resonates with other people who have had similar experiences. Now, if you're
100%.
not already on our Facebook page, we got the Theorite group. People roasting us, posting memes, posts. These are the most popular posts of the last 2 weeks. First post is by Wesley Smith Jr. He was fortunate enough to see his first aurora from Wisconsin. That is a pretty low down aurora, and that is a pretty spectacular aurora to see. Count yourself very fortunate, Wesley.
Yeah, that's rad.
And then people were, this is the aurora news I love. We had Jim Bowman showing his in northern Wisconsin. Amanda Raffi sharing hers in Toronto area. Tons of
dope
people
ones.
out seeing them.
Come to our Facebook page and whip out your auroras.
Yeah, whip out your auroras. Next, we had Kyle Woods. He said, "A time travel predicts our future. Aliens will conquer Earth on March 23rd. It is now April 9th." Unfortunately, this, you can't always be right.
No.
Right? So this was people.
Well, if we go by Terminator rules, then it just pushed somebody. They sent a robot back, and it just pushed it off for
by
a couple
coming
years.
back and telling us, it's thrown the plan up.
Right. So they pushed the plan. What is it? Did they in T3? They pushed it forward. Doomsday got pushed forward.
Yeah.
A couple of years or something, I think.
So
Yeah.
And then we had this one's good. Andre Lacoste said, "I feel like Zell has this in his house somewhere. He would whip it out, but it's primarily used in the bedroom."
That's not a common thing. People have a spine whip. It's like a normal thing.
It's a normal bedroom decor.
Yeah, I've seen it. I will confirm he does have it. 100%. Dan, someone in the chat, who was it, said, someone commented congratulating me on the new family, and Chris McCormick said, "My girlfriend will make a baby with you, Dan."
Oh.
So if you wanted to join the family,
interesting.
You can mathematically have sex with Chris McCormick's girlfriend.
Yeah, mathematical.
Done.
I'll give you the equations.
And welcome Flavia Santabanas and what's going on, Lost 687. Last one for the memes we have. Oh, this is definitely not one. Never mind. That was just a random. Now, Zell, did you have something that was coming back here at the end of this episode?
Bringing it back. The fabled, the mythical band of the week will make its triumphant return to the podcast. We had to close that down during the Spotify days and YouTube striking us. So I'm going to be giving band of the week out. We're going to do it, maybe not every Space News, but so twice a month or so. The rules for band of the week: it doesn't have to be necessarily a band, but you have to be able to perform it live.
That's good.
How do we prove it?
It's fair.
I just mean if it's all electronic.
Oh yeah.
And you got to push play on the laptop.
Well, and to be
count.
honest, there's also going to be a little bit of bias in this sense that if one of us hears it and goes, "This is the worst fucking thing I ever heard," we're not playing it.
No.
Also, the bias
I
of
play
it's
whatever
we
I
get
want.
one. Yeah, if we get one, this is the one that's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we
Fair
don't get a lot.
All
So
right, we'll play whatever.
we'll play whatever. If you can play it live, and obviously you can't be signed. You can't be a signed band. You don't get any more. If you made it there, you don't need any more help from us.
Help us.
Help, yeah, fucking help us out. Yeah, no doubt.
Put us on your song.
So I'm going to start it off with a band I just recorded because I don't have any other submissions because I just started it. So this band's
where
called
can people submit?
Crush XO is the band. You can submit to alientheorist@gmail.com. Make sure to put band of the week submission or something like that so we don't just gloss over it or someone doesn't delete it by accident. We will listen and we will put it at the end of this podcast. So if you're watching the video version, we cannot put it on YouTube because we get X'd right away and that whole video is toasted. But the podcast version is still free. It is still the Wild West. So we can promote the band of the week at the end of the show, put a little link in the podcast description, kind of help out some independent music. So this week, the band's called Crush XO, all one word. The song's called Pour Me a Little More. It's a catchy little rock and roll tune. Perfect. I think you'll enjoy.
Next Space News is coming April 23rd, and that's all we got. So keep those eyes on the skies and enjoy the band of the week.
Peace.